think everybody's here that's coming probably. So I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Mike Copperthwaite. I'm the chairman of the Forest Workers Society. And today the Forest Workers Society is proud to be the sponsor of today's happenings. So this day honors the memory of workers who have been killed, injured, or suffered illness as a result of work-related incidents. I'd like to note that Canada was the first nation to recognize the forest workers, this day, and it became a national observance in 1990. A few statistics here for you. In 2013, there were a total of 128 worker deaths in British Columbia. And specifically, when we talk to the forest industry, who we're representing ourselves today, is 11 of those were related directly to the woodlands operations, so that's the logging end of things. And there are also 11 industry deaths in the lumber and paper end of things. In 2005, the forest industry hit a crisis with actually had 43 deaths in the woodlands portion of the operations. All players, employers, workers, and unions recognized this was an unacceptable situation, and together we made great strides to try and improve that. We actually had a low of 6 deaths in 2008. Our goal was 0, and as you heard, we kind of creeped up from 6 back to 11, so there's still always work to be done. All workplace deaths are a grave concern. In 2013, there were 6 young worker deaths, and I think that's critical to me. I have 2 young kids now just entering the workforce, and I think we all have a responsibility to ensure that the most vulnerable workers are protected, as they don't have the experience or confidence to ensure they are not conducting themselves in an unsafe manner. Today, we stop to honor these workers, but every day we must work hard to keep ourselves and our co-workers safe to return home to our families. I'd like to ask Linda Nixon to come up and speak on behalf of the city.
Welcome everybody here today as we stop to reflect and remember those that have died on the job. I grew up in Trail, and I grew up under those Cominco smokestacks, and my sister-in-law, Ann Swanson, was 3 years old when her dad was killed between 2 train cars. And the family received compensation after my sister-in-law was over 50 years of age. And that was back in the 40s, and women in those days that were left as widows, they became housekeepers, and Ann's mom became a housekeeper and created a yours, mine, and ours family. They ended up with 13 children. But, women were left with men who died on the job and very few options and benefits. So there has been great strides made with the workers in BC to help people out with benefits that are left behind. On behalf of the city of Revelstoke, I commend you for showing up today and taking a moment to remember all those that have died out there in the woods, and especially in the construction trade, which still has one of the highest numbers of deaths, and also any of the industrial trades out there. So thank you for coming today.
So at this time in the ceremony, we always like to ask anybody who would like to say anything. You don't actually have to come forward. If there's anything you want to say about somebody, maybe you want to remember somebody or just have some comments, please feel free.
I'll say something. I work for Parks Canada, and one of my earliest jobs was in Banff National Park. And it was really, really exciting. Being a university grad, and one of the fellows that I met on the job at Banff, his name was Neil Colgan, and he was quite an inspiration to everybody on the team. We were in public education, it was interpretation, heritage interpretation, organization. We used to call ourselves Naturalists back then. And the names have changed over the years, but the job has remained much the same. Well, Neil was a man of many interests and quite an outdoors person. And he transferred to the warden service a couple of years after I left. And one time when he was on a backcountry trip on horseback, he got off his horse for some reason. You'll never know. Walked behind his horse, and his horse kicked him in the midsection. Okay, and it was it must have been a very powerful blow, because what Neil did after that, he unrolled his bedroll and made himself a bit of a fire and stretched out beside this fire. He was in probably considerable pain. He didn't know if he'd make it. He wrote a loving note to his family, and then he died. His horse made its way down the trail and was standing on the side of the Trans-Canada Highway for many hours when passing park staff noticed it sitting, standing there and grazing. And followed up, and they knew that Neil was up the trail somewhere, possibly hurt. So they mounted a group of wardens on horseback to go up the trail, and they found Neil up there. Ended up naming a cabin after him and so on. But as a result of that incident, none of the wardens went into the backcountry without a radio. Prior to then, it was kind of a hit and miss thing. If you had a radio phone, if you didn't, I don't know. It's just, in this particular case, Neil did not have a radio, and he could not radio for help. So, as a result of that, I think there were significant changes to the health and safety approaches to backcountry activities in the national parks.
Thank you, Murray. Anyone else at this time? Okay, well, seeing no one. Oh, sorry, Doug?
I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but I run a cancer support group, and we do have members here who have gone through mesothelioma, the asbestos cancer. We're trying to get chemotherapy back into our hospital, and I've got a letter petition here that was drafted up by Dave Rooney, and we're trying to get as many people as we can to write a letter to the MLA and to the Minister of Education, or Minister of Health, to try and get this going again. We have lots of brothers and sisters in my group that are all cancer survivors. So if there's anybody here that would like to help, I've got these forms in my hand. Just come to me and I'll give you one, and if I haven't, I'll get you one.
Thank you, Doug. Yeah, so after, if anybody wants to see Doug, that'd be great.
Against the advice of my wife, I'm going to say a couple of things. I'll try to honor the situation and honor the workers that have lost their lives. I think it's really important for everybody to realize that even though we live in a democratic and progressive Western society, there are elements that are changing the way the workplace functions, and these changes are resulting in increased risks to workers, and I'll just leave it at that. And that's happening in our culture as we speak.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one else, I'd like to take a moment and have a minute of silence, so if we can all observe that. Thank you. So at this time, I'd like Cindy Pierce to come forward, and she has something she would like to discuss to the group.
Thanks for coming out. Two things. One thing is that this event gets organized by whoever volunteers, and this year the Forest Workers Society volunteered. Usually the Shuswap Labor Council takes a turn, but they are kind of in disillusion right now. So we need somebody to put their hand up to organize this next year. It doesn't take a lot. It's a couple of emails. You let the papers know. You call Archie to make sure you have the pipes here, and you do a little bit of presentation. It's really very, very easy. But it would really be nice if someone, before we all left today, committed to doing next year, so that in March we're not all running around trying to figure out who's going to do this, because it's really an important activity.
Cindy, QP will do it.
QP will do it. Thank you very much. The second thing is, remember this bench? I think this is year 5 for this plea. The city, this memorial was put together by a collection of the Labor Council and the Forest Workers Society and others. And if you remember, it was a bunch of grass and people were camping here and all the rest of it, so we made it a kind of a destination. And the city kindly put in this bench for us before we had raised the funds. Last year I said, please everybody come up with a bit of cash so I don't have to ask again for money to pay for the bench. We did get $750, I believe, from the Louisiana Pacific Overweight Truckers Fund, which is really great. So we're about $1,500 short now. All you have to do is go into City Hall, talk to Tanya, she'll put it onto the account, tell them it's the Forest Workers Memorial Bench. Maybe we won't do this next year. That would be great. It's good to see we've at least got some money. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Cindy. Yeah, so let's get this thing paid for. So that's all we have for today. I'd just like to thank all of you for coming. Spend part of your day to reflect on workers we've lost and ones who have been injured. Thank you.